Cinemajaw is sponsored by Overcast, an independent podcast app that embraces the open world of podcasting instead of locking it down. No exclusives, no premium content, no paywalls. Just a great podcast app for everyone. Get it for free in the App Store. And we thank them for their support. You're listening to Cinemajaw, the greatest movies podcast ever, recorded on location, once again at Ryan's house in Chicago. My name is Matt Kay, and with me is
Ryan the Movie Guy, and sitting right to my left is Filmy and Phil.
How we doing tonight, boys?
This week on Cinemajaw, this is a really interesting top five, Matt. How about this? Top 5 acting comebacks.
This is good, man. You know, it's been a while since we've done a top 5. I'm kind of excited.
I agree. Back from Thanksgiving, we got to come back, and we got to come back with acting comebacks.
You look exactly the same as you did the last time we recorded.
I didn't gain any weight over the holiday.
Well done. Treadmill?
Just a lot of walking.
All right. That works.
Yeah, there you go. Besides acting comebacks, we're going to be talking about a whole lot more, aren't we, Phil?
Yeah, you know what? We don't really have too much left in November, but there wasn't enough for us to start a new monthly theme. So I was looking through all of our crack research, and we got one more teeny tiny Will Smith fact we're going to come at you guys with, because it's still a party. We're still celebrating Will over here.
And we have some dessert for you guys for your Thanksgiving and holiday dinners. 2 reviews, Red Rocket, the new one from Sean Baker, and Power of the Dog.
No guest this week, Matt, so we'll be playing Stump the Kubinski. And in honor of Red Rocket, which we will talk about, but it has to do with a former porn star going back to his hometown. Mm-hmm. I thought this would be a good time for Matt to play movies about porn trivia.
Most right up Matt's alley it could possibly be.
I mean, can we stump Matt Kubinski on movies about porn?
Interestingly enough, we had documentarian Maria Finizzo on the show once, and our top 5 was movies about sex. And I guess we got the search engine juju just exactly correct, because for some reason, that is one of our most popular episodes of all time.
Yep. Movies about sex sells, Matt. So maybe this will be second, because Matt K, we are going to try to stump him on movies about porn.
I just feel bad for all the 13-year-olds out there who are looking for actual porn, looking up porn movies, and then this podcast comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
They're going to have the next 45 minutes are going to be really rough for them, considering what they were expecting to get into.
For sure. And it's one of our most popular on YouTube as well. So people are searching it. It's funny.
I agree. Before we get started here, though, interesting news out of the Cinemajaw camp.
Sort of sad news.
Sort of sad,
I'm
but
a little
not
depressed.
Not terribly sad. He's going to stay with us. But Jawheads, you may remember about a year, maybe a year and a half ago now, Phil had left the show. He moved out to California, then came back. Pandemic happened. He joined the show again. However, we knew we may lose him again.
It was short-lived.
Phil is
dying.
Boy, that would be
that one would be all sad.
A little bit more than
Imagine
just
if Ryan was
semi-sad.
yeah, it's kind of good though.
No, well, we're not losing him right now off the show. But Phil, you do have some news.
Yeah, I'll be moving to Seattle, Washington. So still Pacific. I'm still going to be moving into the same time zone, just about 10 hours north of there. But I'm pretty stoked about it. I was looking at apartments. I mean, at this time, it was probably a month ago by the time this airs. A while ago for you guys. For us, literally, I just came back. But yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I'm looking forward to it.
I'm not.
I know.
I want Phil to stay in Chicago.
What this means is that we can draw later because I won't have to wake up at 6 a.m. I mean, even if I do, it's 6 a.m. Pacific time.
True. Well, I'm sad.
So for now, since we do the podcast most of the time via Zoom, you'll still hear Phil. It won't change for the Jawheads, but it will change for us.
Yeah, it's going to suck. This may be our last time hanging out with Phil in person.
For a very long time.
Until the Vancouver Film Festival or the Misfits reunite in Seattle and Matt has to go.
Well, they are playing Riot Fest in 2022. Are you going to be back? You going to come back to visit?
To see the Misfits? No. To visit, yes. I mean, but not visit Glenn.
That would be a good excuse, right?
For Matt K, I think.
You're not a big Misfits fan? You're into punk rock.
I have a healthy respect for him, but I'm not going to travel for him.
Phil.
Well, since Phil is still here, let's crack open a beer for Phil.
All right.
Cheers, guys. Here we
Cheers
go.
to that.
Well done.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Yeah, they can't hear our beer cans clinking together, but we are clinking and
They
drinking.
did happen.
It did. Damn it, we will have a good time while Phil is in-house,
We
Matt.
better.
We always
gotta
do.
enjoy this.
It's going to be another one of those story nights where none of us fully remember what happened, but either me or Ryan got us kicked out of somewhere.
Speaking of good times, the two movies we're reviewing this week, Red Rocket and The Power of the Dog,
Are both about dogs?
no, but they both did take place at film festivals. The Power of the Dog I caught at the Chicago International Film Festival. Red Rocket we saw at the Chicago Critics Film Festival at the Music Box. And we were able to go have a beer afterwards and talk. Got to see a lot of the critics that Jawheads have heard on the show. And not just see them at a screening. That's one thing. We see them every week. But to be at a film festival with a lounge, I was able to talk and have some beers. And
Yeah. Brian Tallarico.
yeah, absolutely a great time. And Brian, we latched our claws onto him again and made sure he's going to be back here for the year-end episode. So it was good to see all those guys. And just a reminder, if you do have festivals out there, Phil's going to be going out to the Northwest. Support those festivals because I tell you, Jawheads, it is so much fun to get out there and talk to other film lovers and creators, and I love it all.
Or, hey, if there's not a film festival around, start one. Right?
You know something about that.
I do. Yeah, I spoke to Charles Klein, friend of the show, has been on many times, our very first guest ever. Today's his birthday, and I called him, and we talked about his docs on the Fox Film Festival. So, I mean, we did the Indie Incubator together, and then he did docs on the Fox. So, yeah, if your community doesn't have a film festival, start your own.
For no reason other than, here's what else I'll say. There is something that feels really great about seeing a movie before everyone else, right? Being able to pull like, I can't talk about that. I'm under NDA.
Oh, yeah.
There's like, I donate monthly to NPR, so I love false senses of superiority. Film Fest is the way to go if you're looking for that itch.
Sure.
It is true. Believe it or not, I knew I would get a screener for The Power of the Dog, yet it was a Sunday afternoon, and I went to the Chicago International Film Festival because I wanted to see it in a festival setting, right? I knew I'd probably get a screener and see it early anyways, but the idea of going to a crowd, being part of the fest is exciting.
Did you get the screener yet?
I have not gotten the screener yet as of this recording, so
I want to borrow it.
yeah, of course. All right. Phil mentioned, I don't know how this could even be possible, but there's still another Will fact out there that we haven't gotten to.
Will Smith is a prolific guy, and this one, it's touching back. We'd already talked about, I believe, it was Independence Day, not Men in Black, so I'm completely mistaken, but we got a Men in Black 3 fact, really the whole series, but mostly we're focusing on 3. It was not until the third Men in Black movie, the latest one that came out in 2010 or something, that Will Smith got top billing. The first 2 movies were Tommy Lee Jones getting the top spot above Will Smith, if you can believe that.
No, I can believe that.
I can't. I'm a little shocked.
Are you?
Well, maybe the very first time, because Men in Black came out, and that was like Will Smith's third movie, maybe.
Right.
That makes sense that Tommy Lee Jones was a name. But I think by the time Men in Black 2 came out, Will Smith was one
Fresh
of the,
Prince.
if not biggest stars going. And Tommy Lee Jones, I love him, but he's not the box office draw that Will Smith is.
This is true.
There
You got
has
a good
never
point.
been a Cinemajaw Tommy Lee Jones month. So let's put it that way. The highest esteem you can have in cinema, not a Hollywood square. Get out of town. It's being the topic of Cinemajaw's monthly theme.
You're right. You guys are right. I can't argue with either one of you. I mean, when you're right, you're right. And you're just both right.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome. You won't hear me say that very often.
Well, I doubt Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones would make another movie together where Will Smith wasn't getting top billing. It just wouldn't happen.
These days, yeah, I think that's absolutely true. Speaking of top billing, Ryan, let's talk about Red Rocket. Auteur Sean Baker is back, continuing his run as one of the most exciting filmmakers working today. His latest film from A24, the aforementioned Red Rocket, is an honest, human, and hilarious look at a washed-up porn star who returns home to small-town Texas to rustle up his next steps in life. Will he reconnect with his estranged wife? Will he get a new job? Or will he sell drugs and hit on high schoolers? Ryan and I pulled up our bandanas and headed out to Texas to find out.
You said you're never going to step a foot in Texas again.
I know, this is unexpected.
Oh, nothing with you is unexpected.
Your last job is over 17 years ago. That's quite a gap.
Well, you know, I've worked almost every day for the last 17 years. I moved back in with my wife last week.
No, I'm calling the cops. 10, 9,
Really?
8.
We decided to make a run of it.
I just need a place to crash for a couple of days. What's the big deal?
Mikey, go fuck yourself.
All right, look, I'm gonna be straight with you. I'm an adult film actor.
Excuse me?
If you liked The Florida Project, then you will love Tangerine. And if you loved Tangerine, then you will like Red Rocket. Baker's fourth film to feature a sex worker at its core is perhaps not his strongest to date, but not Sean Baker's strongest is still a place most filmmakers would dream of being. Fresh off a Greyhound bus, beat up and broke, porn star Mikey Saber, played by Simon Rex, and more on him in a bit, returns to the home of his estranged wife and her mother, played respectively by Brie Elrod and Brenda Dias, and quickly manages to con his way onto their couch and eventually back into their hearts. With promises of going legit, he turns to old connections and begins selling weed. About this time, Mikey meets Strawberry, a high schooler who works at the local answer to Dunkin' Donuts. The two begin an unlikely relationship, and Mikey begins to see her as his ticket back into the industry he left behind. This film's success rests firmly on Simon Rex's shoulders, a sentence I never thought I would say, and in some part between his legs as well. As someone who had felt the shame of working for the adult industry before the era of Hilton and Kardashian normalization of sex tapes, Simon Rex was perhaps better suited to play this role than anyone else. While this may not have been method acting, he nevertheless burns up the celluloid in every single scene he's in. He creates tension, drama, and most of all, comedy. Who knew? Speaking of celluloid, Rye, Baker has once again shot in 16 millimeter, and the color and grain are so appealing. He has the most masterful eye. Some shots could be framed and hung in a museum. Some viewers should know, just a trigger warning, this movie's got a lot of sex in it, purposely gratuitous for comic effect. We get full frontal on Simon Rex in the most hilarious way, and you'll be singing the NSYNC song Bye 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 the whole ride home. Red Rocket feels like a highbrow sex comedy, and in honesty, I've missed sex comedy in our somewhat puritanical moment in history. Only a guy like Baker, who confronts norms and explores life on the fringes, could have brought a film like this to life.
Well said, Matt. I have to say, Sean Baker excels at finding and bringing different stories to the big screen, and he has this theme. You said his fourth. It's his third.
It's his fourth.
It is his fourth?
Yeah. His first one was, oh man, now I'm going to forget.
Can we
the
throw
name.
it in the fish tank?
Throw it in the fish tank.
Because I thought, thinking of this...
Starlet, I believe.
Because I was just thinking Tangerine, Florida Project, and now Red Rocket. But there is something before it.
Quadrilogy, yes.
How interesting. But his theme, concentrating on sex workers, is fascinating because he just takes an angle on it that I don't think anybody else would. Now, I, believe it or not, was not as familiar with Simon Rex as it appears everybody else was. I barely knew the name. Like, I had to, when I heard that he was going to be the star of the new Sean Baker movie, I had to refresh who
He was a dopey
Simon Rex
MTV
was.
VJ. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, Matt. He was perfectly cast here. The movie is just an absolute laugh riot. I found it strange, however, when the audience that we saw it at, we were at the Music Box, pretty crowded screening
Must
as
have been
well.
300 people there.
Yeah. I found it strange how the audience seemed hesitant at first to go along with the relationship between Mikey and Strawberry.
Well, you found that strange?
Well, I was almost observing how strange everybody else found it. Like, I wasn't positive the audience was
kind of gross in a way.
Right. I wasn't positive the audience was willing to go on the ride with Mikey and Strawberry, especially on that first meeting. You could feel it in a way. It wasn't necessarily like a sound in the theater that people were groaning, but it was just a a vibe in the theater like, oh man, I don't know if anybody's going to go for this, because he's going after a girl who just said she's not even 18 years old.
Right.
That was a weird moment.
She turns 18, I think.
But then as the film goes on, it seemed that everyone started to be okay with it. By 10 minutes after that first meeting, everyone's sort of laughing and having a good time.
Because it's the ride you're on.
Exactly. And the only bad part of it, and I think you're going to fall in this too, because I think the movie works extremely well for what Sean Baker was going for, but it is missing, for me at least, that emotional punch that the Florida Project provided. Do you agree?
100%. Yeah. He leans into the comedy aspect of this, and like neither Tangerine nor Florida Project, which are the two most people are going to be familiar with Sean Baker for. And honestly, I haven't seen his other film either. I just found out about it in my research. Want to see it? He just doesn't do comedy, or hasn't done comedy.
Tangerine was pretty funny.
Sure, there's moments, right?
Yeah.
But there's also like this emotional core. Like you wouldn't call Tangerine a comedy.
No, but
you would call Red Rocket a comedy.
Oh yeah, Red Rocket's definitely a comedy. Yes, I would say that. But I mean, there are funny moments in the Florida Project.
Sure.
And Tangerine, even funnier.
There's funny moments in The Shining. You know.
Come on. I mean, yes, but that's obviously a horror film. But I'm saying I would say Tangerine's sort of a comedy thriller, and then I would say Florida Project's like a dramedy, where it's mainly a drama, but it has a high amount of comedy in there.
I guess
it's not like he's foreign.
Got comedic beats, but it's not a comedy.
Yeah, but Sean Baker's not foreign to the concept of being funny on screen. All of his movies do have.
I give that to you.
An aspect of comedy to them.
For
All
sure.
of them have it.
For
So,
sure.
That works. Question for you here. There is a scene in Red Rocket that involves a highway accident. And when I got away from the screening and we had a couple of beers afterwards, but I got home and I was like thinking about the movie. I was thinking about that particular scene and Sean Baker kind of analyzing that moment where Sean Baker is probably saying that is what Mikey's life is doing to a lot of the people around him. There is an accident that takes place.
Wow, I didn't pick up on that at all. Well done.
With like a quick decision is made. Something happens on the highway.
It's more of a suggestion.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, there's this accident.
An aftermath.
Right, and an aftermath. And if you look at Mikey's actions with the people who he's involved with and what we find out what he did with his wife and his intentions with Strawberry.
Wow.
They're both, hey, let's suggest this. And the fact of the matter is,
A quick exit, if you will.
yeah. And the fact of the matter is, though, it's going to have ramifications that are going to affect their lives forever.
Yeah. Wow, dude, well done. I didn't pick up on that at all. That is a central metaphor for the entire situation. I thought that was just an action piece that the movie was going to pivot on and turn into a different thing toward the end, which doesn't necessarily happen. That's small spoiler alert. It kind of also plays into comedy eventually. But I didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought the whole movie was going to be about that for the rest of the movie. I didn't pick up on that at all.
But you like that.
Yeah, really observant. Well done.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, I don't say that too often, so I'm impressed, Ryan.
Well,
Done.
it had me thinking about the movie, and I was just thinking about that particular scene.
Yeah,
So-
if Sean Baker were sitting at this table, he'd be like, "Thank you for picking that up."
Oh, I'm sure that's what he would be
He'll
saying.
be here eventually. It's a matter of time.
The music in the film's great. Simon Rex, fantastic. Does he have a shot, in your opinion, of maybe getting nominated for an Academy Award here? What would your gut say?
I'm going out on a limb. Okay, well, here's the thing. Because of all the sex in this movie, I think the Academy's going to shy away from it because there is some graphic, gratuitous sex in this movie. I'm not offended by that, but I know we're just kind of going through this moment, and I don't know. For my money, I would think he deserves it, at least the nomination, but I'm 50-50. How about you?
I'm right there, too. I'm not positive it's strong enough. In a movie like this, it has to be like a really strong performance that they can't ignore, right?
That was a strong performance, and it's been a weak year. especially for guys. I mean, who else you got?
Well, we're going to be talking about The Power of the Dog and Benedict Cumberbatch.
okay.
So, little teaser there. But I'm saying that in a movie like this, it really needs to be a strong performance, like where they can't ignore it. It can be a fine performance, and I think this really, I may vote for it myself, but I don't know if the Academy overall would say, yes, that was good enough out of a movie dealing with the subject matter that it is.
Golden Globes,
that they
though,
would pick it.
actor in a comedic performance.
In a comedic performance, stuff like the Spirit Awards. That
He's going to get it.
Yeah. I could actually even see him win in the Spirit Awards, which will just boost his career anyways. But that was going to be my follow-up question is, do you see Simon Rex, since we're doing, acting comebacks, do you see this sort of being a springboard for more Simon Rex serious dramedies?
Hey, maybe. I mean, he did great in this movie. He's a good-looking guy. He's got like a chiseled body. Like maybe he winds up in a Marvel movie. Who knows?
What? Why do you got to go Marvel
Well,
right
I'm
off
just
the
saying
bat?
that's kind of like
Why do you
like
jump off from that.
I'm just saying that's like a like at least a touchstone for success, right? When you get like even Benedict Cumberbatch, who we're about to talk about, is Doctor Strange. Like, who doesn't want that paycheck? So Simon Rex, yeah, man, maybe.
Possibly. The other interesting thing is that Sean Baker picks really interesting locales. The Florida Project obviously takes place right outside of Disney World there and outside of Orlando. And this time he goes to Texas. And this is a different type of Texas that we're used to seeing on screen. When you think Texas, you don't think Sean Baker's Texas that we see here in Red Rocket.
Yeah, it's dusty. It's right next to an oil refinery. It's just kind of like, for lack of a better term, a real shithole, And it's kind of a sad, like, old railroad town that, like, nobody really lives in, like a lot of chain link fence and dilapidated suburban homes. I don't know. It's depressing, but beautiful the way he frames it up.
I was just going to say, what's funny is you're describing it that way, but then you are also saying that you could almost hang artwork out of his shots. So he's doing something right here because he's catching the sun the right way, because it is a slum, more or less, of an area that they live in. And I agree with you. It's beautiful in a way.
He could take a gas station and make it look like, something that belongs in the art museum, in the Art Institute of Chicago. Seriously. Like, that famous painting of the diner from the outside, from the street, and you see the people inside? That's Sean Baker. He frames a shot like that. And then you'll just see Simon Rex ride by on a bicycle. That's the only action in the frame, and he holds that shot. And I'm like, boom, my head was blown, mind blown.
And you mentioned his bicycle. I love his bicycle.
Oh, yeah. It's almost a character in the film.
It's fantastic. There's a scene in the movie where he doesn't want Strawberry to know where he lives. So he's getting dropped off at a house that is not his. And then he is basically turning around after she drives off and he leaves. And then eventually the person who actually lives in this house comes out and is like, what is going on? I see you out here every single
With a
night.
shotgun, yeah.
And of course he's got to drive away on his bicycle, right? He's like Phil. He's biking everywhere.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's a porn movie, a bike movie. We're talking my language.
Yeah,
Is
you'll
it a
like
nice
this.
bike?
No. It's like a borrowed bike. It's really crappy and totally not his.
Which makes it better, though.
Oh, yeah.
If it was a nice bike, it wouldn't work for Mikey's character.
Right. Mikey doesn't ride a bike because he wants the exercise or to be cool.
He's not me. He's,
Yeah.
So we've mentioned a lot of scenes in here, but was there a jaw-dropping moment inside Red Rocket?
I mean, I think you know what I'm going to say. It is the bye scene. Mikey's running down the street, full frontal. We got some interesting zooms. It's totally played for laughs. It was great. It was hilarious. I loved it.
I wrote that one down as well. It's very easy to go there. It's hysterical. But another great one is, and I don't want to get too crude here, Matt, but there is a description of oral sex that goes on throughout the movie, and
Yeah, because he's won awards
it's a running gag throughout the movie. It's hysterical, but he literally describes why his presence in an oral sex scene is so important, being the guy, and it's just so funny. It's just outrageous.
Yeah. Because he believes it. The character totally believes it.
Yeah, his explanation for it is just like, what? It's just so out there, and everybody's just laughing along and sort of at him, right?
Yeah. Oh, man. This was... Sean Baker really goes for it, man.
How about a movie poster quote?
Only a guy like Baker, who confronts norms and explores life on the fringes, could have brought a film like this to life. Just take it right from my review.
There you go. I went with Mikey Saber, the funniest porn star since Reed Rothschild.
Which movie was Reed Rothschild from?
Ooh.
Is
This
this
is a
not
it's a
boding
Boogie
well
Nights
for
call.
my...
It's a
okay.
Boogie Nights call, Vic. Yeah. How many Jaws, Matt K?
So, again, I said this isn't Sean Baker's strongest movie, but not Sean Baker's strongest is still a place filmmakers would dream to be. Four Jaws.
Wow. All right. That is really high praise. I'm going 3.5 Jaws for Red Rocket.
All right.
It is going to be playing in limited release on the 10th of December. So this is a little early of a review. It was supposed to be the 3rd, I believe, or the 2nd, but it got pushed back to December 10th. Jawheads, when you do see it, let us know what you think. Shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw or an email, feedback@cinemajaw.com.
Yeah, seek this one out, guys. This was good.
I agree. I mean, Florida Project was my number 1 of the year when it did come out, and I know it was high on your list as well.
High on my list. This won't probably be my number 1 of the year, but I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Simon Rex did get us thinking acting comebacks, and this is a great topic to discuss. I'm shocked we haven't done this one before, but through the times, it's always fun to cheer for an underdog, to cheer for that guy to come back or that actress to say, oh my God, I forgot what a talent she really is. And it's funny. Sometimes time benefits some people.
Oh, like a fine wine, Ryan.
Acting comebacks. Number 5, Matt.
All right. My number 5 is NPH. Neil Patrick Harris. He kind of came back in Harold and Kumar, right? But
That's where I would list it.
it wasn't for me until Dr. Horrible's sing-along blog that I think he truly came back to the scene. And then what I think sealed the deal was his appearance in Gone Girl, when we really got to see some range from Neil Patrick Harris. And then I'm like, oh, okay, this guy's not just geek street cred, which I loved him for. He can really act. So Neil Patrick Harris is my number 5. I'm a big fan.
Yeah. Known as Doogie Howser for many years. Then
Yeah.
it seemed like, okay, he's just going to disappear and we're not going to see from him again. Came back strong. And in fact, he's going to be in Matrix Resurrections. So
He's in the trailer.
can't wait to see it. I'm excited to see some more Doogie Howser, NPH.
I love him.
My number 5 pick, also an actor. And I love this guy. And probably there's jawheads out there that are going to say, what are you talking about a comeback? He's just always been
I
an
tried to
A-lister.
avoid those.
But this is not the case. He was a child actor, and I was writing him off, and I think a lot of us were. I'm going with Jason Bateman for my number 5. And I know, I don't know.
Teen Wolf 2.
Yeah, he was in Teen Wolf 2. He was in a couple of television shows when he was young.
Some Family Ties here and there.
And we talked about this just recently when we were talking about Justine Bateman's movie, Violet, that he was playing second fiddle to his sister. He was not necessarily seemed to be like the star of the family. And then there was a drop-off, a lull. We didn't hear of a Bateman forever. And then along came Arrested Development. So it's not a movie per se, but that was definitely what launched him back into the spotlight, was Arrested Development. Film-wise, he more or less played the same kind of snarky character as the commentator in Dodgeball. And I loved him right away. And at that point, I was already watching Arrested Development. And when he popped up in Dodgeball as the commentator, I was dying. And I was like, yes, more of this, please. Well, we got another 15 years of basically the same thing. I mean, he doesn't have all the range in the world, but he's made it.
He's done some things.
He's made it a bit more dramatic now, and like Ozark, and you know,
done some horror,
and he's done some, even the Gift, which was a very interesting movie. But his bread and butter is that snarky character.
What was that
Very
crappy
sarcastic.
superhero movie with Melissa McCarthy and I think it was Octavia Spencer? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, where he was the crab.
Yeah. What was the name of that movie?
We just reviewed it. It came out
Came out
earlier
this year, I
It came
think.
out this
Yeah.
year. I still think about him. The movie's a
Oh, it's the
total
best part,
throwaway,
for sure.
But him in that movie is great. And if Jawheads haven't seen Bad Words, his movie that he directed, go see that. It's a great little buddy comedy. It's fantastic.
My number 5, Jason Bateman, into our 4s, Matt.
All right. At number 4, I have Mickey Rourke.
Wow, heavy hitter.
Heavy hitter. Sin City was my first reintroduction to Mickey Rourke. I was a fan of Barfly from back in the day, and that's it. Like, I know Mickey Rourke has a big career before Barfly and slightly after, and he was a heartthrob, and then he dropped out, mostly due to his bad behavior. But Sin City brought it back for me, and then The Wrestler, Darren Aronofsky's Wrestler, kind of sealed the deal. And obviously, Iron Man 2 isn't one of the most celebrated movies, but again, when you get that Marvel movie paycheck, kind of cements you. So Mickey Rourke came back in a big, big way in the late aughts.
Right. And did you mention Sin City?
Yeah,
Marv?
that's the one that brought me back to
right,
it.
yeah, Marv, and then the two that you mentioned. Since then, though, he's still acting, but I think he's back down in the dumps again.
This could be. Yeah.
Will he have another comeback?
Could be. The third comeback? We should do that. Like, who's had two comebacks in their career?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned The Wrestler because that's where my number 4 pick actually goes to also. Actress this time around, I went with Marisa Tomei at number 4. We will remember she jumps out onto the scene with My Cousin Vinny, wins the Academy Award. We've talked about it on the show before. There was controversy of if she actually did win the award or if they read the wrong name. And we laughed at it, but then we threw it in the fish tank, and Phil came up with all these facts that there is some theories out there that possibly they read the wrong name at the awards. Look it up on Google. I don't want to go too much onto it. We've talked about
Conspiracy theories here.
Right. But it's out there. Anyways, Marisa Tomei then sort of disappears. I don't want to say disappears, but starts to diminish and nothing notable from her. It's not like, oh, it's a Marisa Tomei role and it's, great. And then she comes back with 2 movies back-to-back years, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead with Philip Seymour Hoffman, and that one came out in 2007, and then follows it up in 2008 with The Wrestler.
Strong performance in The Wrestler.
Right. And then
I got to rewatch that movie.
Ever since then, she's like a notable, she's not going to like open up the movie, but of course she's right now.
And in a Marvel movie.
In a Marvel movie, she plays the Ant. What's her name?
May.
Aunt May. So yes,
so weird.
She's in Marvel. She'll pop up here and there, always like a good supporting role. Crazy Stupid Love she's in. There's numerous movies ever since that little bit of a comeback. Marisa Tomei is a name ever since then.
No doubt. Good pick, Ryan. All right, swings it into our number 3s, and I'm going with one that probably popped into your mind right away when you heard comebacks. John Travolta.
Wow.
So obvious, but I mean, a huge comeback. He was such a star in the 70s and 80s. Grease, Staying Alive, and then kind of faded away, right? He had a series of duds and kind of faded away. Pulp Fiction comes out, boom, he's right back in the mid-90s to superstardom. And has he gone wrong since then? Yeah, maybe. But he's also had some good movies. I like John Travolta, despite all his quirks.
Truth be told, this was my number 1 pick, and I'll talk about it more when we get there.
All right.
But yes, John Travolta, I think is the absolute classic. I don't know who you have at 2 or 1 that would rival the comeback that he quite made, because
I got a couple here.
He literally was a nobody at the point of Pulp Fiction. At the point of Pulp Fiction,
he wasn't a nobody.
At the point of Pulp Fiction, I remember being like baffled when I had heard John Travolta was in Pulp Fiction. Like, what? That guy? He was done, I thought. I never thought he would have came back and then had the career that he had. He was literally an A-lister for 20 plus years after Pulp Fiction. Insane amount of time. How big John Travolta could.
Oh, and arguably still is.
Right, I agree. I mean, it's a big name, but I mean, to go back in time and tell you in 94 when he was cast in Pulp Fiction seemed like it was almost ludicrous that John Travolta, that guy from the 70s, was going to be in this movie. Made, to me, absolutely no sense.
One of the sweat hogs. Yeah, I guess I hear what you're saying, but I mean, it was a big comeback.
Well, truth be told, also, not just my number 1. Matt has already talked about my number 3, my number 2, and my number 1. So you stole all of my picks. So I got some honorables here to fill in. So for my number 3, technically I had Neil Patrick Harris. That's
Okay.
where I was going with that one. I think I don't want to steal your number 2 or 1 because is he in a Marvel movie?
I'm looking at this and just about. I mean, even John Travolta was in Punisher.
Okay,
right?
but is number 2 or 1 in a big part of the MCU?
Yes.
Okay, so I'll leave that one off. I'll go with Drew Barrymore for my number 3. She was obviously a childhood star in E.T., Firestarter, and then again, probably one of those where we thought we've seen the best of Drew Barrymore. And what would you say her actual big comeback was? Charlie's Angels?
No, I think she was back before then. I think she had...
Or would you say it was the Adam Sandler movie?
Wedding
Singer.
I think
That's where I was going to put it.
Interesting. I think she was back before both of those. Oh, wow. Good question. Can we throw it in
Throw it in the fish tank. What her big movie was right around, if there was something before...
Those two movies.
The Wedding Singer.
Yeah.
That's where I would say it was, The Wedding Singer. But then since then, not only just an actress, but really became, a producer.
Voice, yeah.
Everything. Now she has her own television show. I mean, she became a
personality.
Yeah, superstar all the way around. So not just acting, but Drew Barrymore seemed like she was off the map and then completely came back in the early 2000s.
She had some dark years, but she found her way back. All right, that swings it to me at number 2. Ryan, you kind of suss this one out. RDJ, Iron Man himself. This is a lot of people's number ones. When I was doing the research and looking at these lists, almost everybody had Robert Downey Jr. at number 1. He was kind of blacklisted in Hollywood. He famously had drug addiction problems, and producers just didn't want to hire him because of the insurance. Like, they couldn't afford it because what if he messed up an entire production? A movie costs millions and millions of dollars, and if your star fails to show up or overdoses or something horrible happens, then all those millions are wasted. So RDJ, he wasn't on anyone's radar. The MCU, this little startup and at the time, Jon Favreau gave him a shot to be Iron Man, a character perfect for him. It just worked. He'd gotten his life together at this point, and it stuck. And he went on to do Sherlock Holmes and a few dramatic turns here and there, and he is who he is today because of that.
Yeah, I would actually say right prior to Iron Man, he actually made his comeback. I mean, he was in that Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. He was in Wonder Boys, where he started to at least have some roles where it was like, oh, okay, he's still around. He's coming back. It was a slow start. Obviously, Iron Man put him in a whole nother stratosphere. But
for sure.
Yes, that was who I was thinking when I said Marvel. So number 2, I had Mickey Rourke. That was my number 2 pick. I'll sub in, maybe controversial pick, because is it really a comeback? Keanu Reeves.
Oh, we are in a Keanu-sance.
Right.
So yes, definitely comeback, yes.
This is where it's more just, we didn't take the actor all that seriously anymore, right? He had his Bill and Ted moment, and then
his Point Break,
and it just seemed like he was just going to fade away. And to actually say that he got better so late to where now he's a lot of people's favorite actor. It's insane to think about. When you go back to the days of Point Break and Speed, he was kind of like a throwaway action hero. Like, he was the kind of guy that you would put in a movie when the other A-listers didn't want that particular role.
Can't get Jean-Claude Van Damme, so book Keanu Reeves.
Right. Chris Rock did a funny bit on this at the Oscars when he hosted one time. He's like, just don't make the movie. If you're trying to get Tom Cruise and all you could get is, so-and-so, just don't make the movie. And it was very funny. Of course, Chris Rock, much funnier than me. But that's where Keanu Reeves was at that time. It seemed like he was making movies that everybody else had already sort of skipped, and then it was Keanu Reeves' movie.
Yeah, but some of those are the best movies, right? Like Point Break, I still love it.
It's still fun, don't get me wrong. Yes, absolutely love it. But into his comeback, we're talking now John Wick, another Matrix movie, everything.
He's
Keanu
also
Reeves
had
is
multiple
in.
comebacks, hasn't he?
Right. Everything that he's in now is like must-see movie. I mean, there's not a Keanu Reeves movie opening up that you're not excited for. So
He was not a small part of the latest Toy Story movie either.
Oh, I loved it. I loved him in there. Yeah,
and
he was the stuntman.
John Wick, like you said, now Matrix is coming back. This guy's had comebacks on top of comebacks. So I love me some Keanu Reeves.
That was my number 2 pick as a fill in there. So we're into our number
Into
ones.
our ones.
Who do you have left?
So mysterious.
You're telling me you got somebody bigger than Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback and bigger than John Travolta. I'm not buying it.
All right, ready? You just gave me the sticker I put on my mic stand, and it says Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Michael freaking Keaton. There is the comeback of all comebacks. Where was Michael Keaton? For years, he was absent. This man was Batman. He was Beetlejuice. He was everywhere in Hollywood. He was a mega A-lister. He wasn't Keanu Reeves. He wasn't some action star. He wasn't John Travolta doing quirky musicals and stuff like Saturday Night Fever. No, he was Mr. Hollywood. He was freaking Batman with Tim Burton and then gone. Poof. Where was he? He comes back with a bang in Birdman, and now he's everywhere again. Huge comeback. Boom. He was in RoboCop, which wasn't great. He's also in the MCU. And, man, what else is Michael Keaton
He did Founder. He was in The Nice Guys. I remember, not The Nice Guys, I'm sorry, The Other Guys.
Was Founder this year, or was that
a couple
last
of
year?
years ago, actually. Yeah. But, yeah, I mean, he was in Spotlight. Everything Michael Keaton touches lately is gold. So
Right. And he was just gone. He was just absent for so long. This is a true comeback, Ryan.
this is true. I like that pick, actually. I like it a lot.
Thank you. Who do you have at number one?
Well, my number 1 was John Travolta. I would hold that. So if I'm going to fill one
One of the
in,
most famous ones.
Yes, I would really say John Travolta is the biggest comeback in my opinion. One that was not mentioned and should be discussed here is Ben Affleck. Who,
Interesting.
It wasn't necessarily like he completely went away, but I think he lost himself right before he started directing.
Geely, right?
You know, before, well, I don't know. I mean, that was part of his downward spiral, but he had a bunch of just sort of crappy movies. I know you like the Reindeer Games, and we did a extra Jaw on it there where we reviewed it as a retro. It's not that good of a movie. There were some of those right in there where they were just sort of generic movies, and he seemed to be slipping and losing his way. And then came this idea that he was going to direct Gone Baby Gone. And it was good. We were shocked. What the hell's going on? Then all of a sudden he directs The Town. Next thing you know, this guy directs Argo, and it wins Movie of the Year. And next thing you know, he's Batman and he's back. And it's like, well, Ben Affleck can do anything. And I would actually say now we're back down into
The dumps.
Well, I wouldn't say
Batman
quite the
pulled
dumps,
him down.
but he's slipping again.
Yeah, get back to directing, dude. Because, like, I think his movies are great. He needs to direct. He can have a small role, but...
He directed a film after Argo. I can't think of the name of it, but it was, can we throw that in the fish tank? The last directed film by Ben Affleck, and it was panned. And we didn't even review it here on Cinemajaw. It was a couple of years ago. So pick the right... You don't want to just have him direct anything. Get back to something that he feels very passionate about and go after it.
I remember it. It was like a Gone Girl clone, right?
I don't think so.
because he was in Gone Girl. He didn't direct that, though.
No, he did not. That was Fincher. That was David Fincher.
He was great in that movie. He can do well with the right stuff.
I agree. But he's had his moments where he's slipped and he's come back. I think he'll have another big comeback as well.
Well, yeah, I think so, too. And he wrote the most recent one with Matt Damon, didn't he?
The Duel.
The Duel. So he is back,
Right?
arguably.
And he has a small role in The Duel, and it's a fun role in there. So there you go. Any honorable mentions? I'm right through all mine because I had to fill so many in because you stole all my picks.
I got a couple. Matthew McConaughey.
Yes.
Right? We totally wrote this guy off as the shirtless wonder, famously here on Cinemajaw, poo-pooed him. And then he comes back. I think Dallas Buyers Club is really where we saw Matthew McConaughey shine for the first time again. And then True Detective. And ever since then, if Matthew McConaughey's in a movie, Killer Joe.
Yep. Mud. All those movies are great.
Great. And then last but maybe not least is Kiefer Sutherland. This one I didn't put on my list because it's more about television. But he had been gone for so long and just not doing anything. And then 24 comes around and boom, Kiefer's back.
Right. I can't speak for 24 because I've never seen the show. I know there's fans out there. It's just not my kind of television that I would watch. But he's one that I think's due for a comeback in film. I mean,
I agree.
Can we throw that in the fish tank? What was the last notable film that Kiefer Sutherland did? I can't think of it off the top of my head.
Lost Boys?
But I would like to know because, yes, he's done television, but I want him back in the movies.
Yeah.
His dad's still cranking him out.
Right.
Donald Sutherland's
his
still
dad's
going.
nailing him, yeah.
So, all right. Jawheads, if we missed an acting comeback that you think should be on a top 5 list, and you have Twitter pulled up, shoot us a tweet at Cinemajaw, or you can always email us, feedback@cinemajaw.com. We still have more to go, Matt.
Oh, yes, we do.
We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we have a review of Power of the Dog. Plus, get this, Matt playing Stump the Kubinski. The topic, movies about porn. Stick with us.
Hey, Jawheads, 'tis the season to give thanks, and we wanted to say thank you to everybody who's helped support the show, the Patreons. You guys are the lifeblood of Cinemajaw who make it seriously worthwhile to do the show each and every week. We thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And hey, if you're not already a Patreon, it's not too late. Get in on this because we're doing some fun Christmas gifts for all our patrons. Hope to see you join the community. Lots of fun extras and stuff like that. But for those of you who are already in the know, the true Jawheads, the intelligentsia, seriously, it is the best gift you could have given us all year. Thank you.
Hey Jawheads, we all know November in Cinemajaw land means two things, Thanksgiving and Will Smith. And the best thing is, just like those greedy colonizers' cups overflow with native grains and culinary offerings, Will Smith has a cornucopia of movies available online. On Netflix, you can check out Ali, 7 Pounds, Collateral Beauty, and of course, Netflix's own Bright. Amazon Prime subscriptions include Life in a Year. The Aladdin remake is on Disney, obviously. And HBO Max subscribers rise up because I Am Legend, Hitch, Independence Day, Bad Boys 1 and 2, and Wild Wild West are all on there. And while you're at it, Will's got you feeling a special kind of way, and HBO Max also has you covered with a few episodes of The Fresh Prince from TV Land as well.
And we are back on Cinemajaw. Matt, before we get to Power of the Dog and before we get to Stump the Kubinski, we threw a few items into the fish tank.
Yes, we did.
And I know Phil, he always wants to tell us what we missed or what we got wrong. So let's open up that fish tank.
Wait a moment! It's fish! Isn't it?
DC! Wake up! Wake up! No, Pat, it's a giant glass bowl. Hey, there's some fish folk.
Who's coming with me besides Flipper? Here.
That's a Sicilian message. It means Luca Brasi sleeps with the fishes.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Thank you guys so much. It's actually my favorite pastime. That's the only reason I keep coming back is to correct you guys. And it's a little upsetting because there's not a whole lot to correct you guys on. Most of the questions, you guys actually were pretty close to the point. But it is a jam-packed box. We got 4 different questions in here. We're starting off with what the first Sean Baker film about sex work was. And Matt, as much as I love calling you wrong, it was Starlet. Now,
Interesting.
I do want to preface, I've never seen this film.
Nor
but
I.
From everything I could tell, like the sex work aspect was kind of tertiary. There's like a plot between a younger woman and an older woman, in that like relationship that develops between those two at different stages in their life. That being said, right, the main character and her roommates do work in pornography, and it does have like cameo appearances from real life porn stars just showing up in there, not in pornographic roles, but about porn.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Now, like a complete 180 and to something incredibly wholesome, when do we think Drew Barrymore's comeback was? This one's a little tricky because it is kind of subjective. So I know the 2 that we mentioned were Wedding Singer and Charlie's Angels. Of those 2, if we're going to break it down, Charlie's Angels came out 2000, right at the beginning of the new millennium. Wedding Singer with Adam Sandler came out 2 years earlier in 1998.
Oh, yeah.
So if we're playing off of these, it is Wedding Singer. However, and not that this is an award-winning performance or anything, but it is Drew we're talking about here.
Never Been Kissed. Oh,
Scream 1996.
That is notable. Oh, for sure.
big
When you
notable.
think, I mean, that opening moment with Drew Barrymore absolutely
That could have
helped
been
her.
That could have been, I mean, at the very least,
huge.
getting eyes on her.
Yes,
You know,
huge.
bringing that back.
was it right there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I remember, like, oh my God, Drew Barrymore's in this. It was like a cool moment, you know?
For sure.
Wow, yeah, totally.
Then we also, speaking of comebacks, what did Ben Affleck direct after Argo? That was the exact opposite of a comeback. I've never even heard of this movie, and there's two ways it could be pronounced. I think I'm going to say it the right way. Live by Night? Live by Night is a stupid title, so if it is that, Ben.
Live by Night.
It starred Ben himself, Elle Fanning, Zoe Saldana, and Chris Cooper, among others. It followed a famous bootlegger.
I told you, it was junk. I remember because my behind the scenes role a lot of times is picking the movies that we're going to review. And I remember having that down as one to review, and people were already seeing it, you know, that
saying it was crap.
Yeah, that we're running our circles. And I was like, there was something else that week. And then I never even got around to seeing it.
What was that Shia LaBeouf bootlegger movie where he was like living in the woods of Appalachia? Lawless.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Shia LaBeouf also had a comeback, now that we say it.
True.
Bring it full circle.
There you go. Yeah,
absolutely.
Our last one in here, what was Keith Sutherland's last notable film? On the show, we did talk about his return in 2017's Flatliners remake. Don't know if we can fully recommend that. I mean, really, it's nothing but junk after the 80s. Zoolander 2.
Ugh.
No, that's like a cameo, probably.
Right.
Marmaduke 2010.
Oh, man, we're digging here.
We said notable.
He had a supplementary role in 2009's Monsters vs. Aliens, which is a pretty rad movie, all things considered. I don't think it gets talked about enough, but he really wasn't like a tour de force in that film.
So
either.
what was the last one he did that was like worth talking about? Was it like a Flatliners? Wow.
The original? Yeah.
Jesus.
Which came
That's
out in
like
1990, so
90. Wow.
21 years. His career of...
Kiefer, get off your ass.
Granted, that 24 show did run many years, right? It didn't. I mean, it was supposed to be 24 hours, right? And each
The first season.
right? And it went something like 8 years or something.
The man was Solid Snake. He's been working, just not a whole lot in movies.
Yeah. Let's get him back on the big screen,
Yeah,
Matt.
I agree.
Yep. Was that everything, Phil?
That's everybody in here.
All right. Jump back in that fish tank.
Oh, you know it.
Director Jane Campion's best-known work has been 1993's The Piano, starring Holly Hunter and Anna Paquin. Well, I think that will change going forward. The Power of the Dog, starring Benedict Cumberbatch, Jesse Plemons, and Kirsten Dunst, is currently playing in limited release and drops on Netflix December 1st. It features complex characters and another amazing score from Johnny Greenwood. Ooh. In fact, it's one of 2021's best films.
I wonder what little lady made these.
I did, sir.
Well, Brother Phil?
The Power of the Dog is set in 1925 Montana. The Burbank brothers, Phil, played by Cumberbatch, and George, played by Jesse Plemons, are ranchers by trade, but are very different. George works more on the business side and is kind-hearted and soft-spoken. Phil, meanwhile, is a macho outdoor type. When the two of them, along with their workers, dine at a restaurant owned by a widow named Rose, played by Kirsten Dunst, George is taken by her. Now, she has a son named Peter, who has some feminine mannerisms and a lisp. The rugged Phil is quick to make fun of him. However, the relationship between George and Rose advances, and a wedding is in their future. None of this seems to sit well with Phil. What is it that truly bothers him? Seeing his brother happy, not trusting Rose, or something else entirely? The way Jane Campion slowly peels back the mystery is a joy to behold. This is Benedict Cumberbatch's best role to date. Throw his name in the hat for best performance of the year. There is a scene near the end that is so well put together, I just wanted to run out of the theater and talk about it with someone as soon as the film ended. So many different emotions going on, and it had me guessing where it was going to go. The cinematography is beautiful, and the score I mentioned from Johnny Greenwood is on point. This is one of my favorite films of the year. No top 10 list should be made before seeing this one. I highly recommend Power of the Dog.
Whoa. I got to see this movie.
Oh, you have to, Matt K.
Wow.
Yeah. I was hoping that we would get a screener in time because, as I mentioned, I saw this at the Chicago International Film Festival. So I saw it in October, and I've just been holding on to this review until
you saw it in October?
Yeah. Until we were getting ready to talk about it, and it was going to come out on Netflix. But it drops on Netflix December 1st.
When did you see it?
It was the Sunday. My guess is, what are you looking for an exact date?
No.
Middle of October, if I had to say the...
But it's rare for you to be so tight-lipped. You told me nothing about this movie.
To be honest, now we got to talk about exactly my plans here with Chicago International Film Festival. I was not planning to go see it, so that's why this actually happened. I was going to skip it at the fest, and I had plans on that particular Sunday, and it was playing, and I just actually bought a ticket because my plans fell through, and I was like, oh, what's playing at the fest? And it was Power of the Dog. And I thought, you know what? Let's go see it, as I was mentioning.
Kristen Dunst, Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, and I thought,
well,
I'm going to go see it in a festival setting. It was kind of
Damon.
Spur of the moment kind of deal. And I went and I saw it. And then I thought to myself, I'll sit on this one until we are going to review it. And it's just made time to talk about it now. I wanted the screener maybe to come in the mail or us to get a screening. And I was going to tell you we could both talk about it. But do check it out. Maybe we'll discuss it once again when you see it.
Well, you tell me. This is one I can't make a top 10 list without seeing.
Oh,
so
you will see it, I'm sure. Before you make your top 10, you will see it. For a jaw-dropping moment, though, besides the great scene that I don't want to go into it because it would be spoilers for the whole movie.
Okay.
So dancing around that, move it off to the side. There is also a great moment where Kirsten Dunst, her character Rose, is practicing to play the piano because...
There's another acting comeback, by the way.
Yes, true. Her character Rose is practicing to play the piano because her husband George wants her to play after they have dinner with the governor. They're a notable rancher family. The governor's going to have attended this dinner because they had just gotten married, and he's been touting that she's a great piano player even though she really isn't. So she starts practicing when she thinks that nobody's home. However, turns out that Phil, Benedict Cumberbatch's character, the brother, is actually home and starts to play his banjo to mess around with her as she's playing the piano. So much is conveyed in this scene with no dialogue between the two characters. It's one of those moments where it's like, wow, that was great. Nothing was said, just music being played by both characters.
Wow.
Beautiful. So, loved it.
We did jaw-dropping moment. What about a movie poster quote, Rye?
I went with banjo over piano. Power of the Dog is Jane Campion's best work to date.
How many jaws?
4 jaws, Matt.
Wow.
King. Get out there and see it, Jawheads. Power of the Dog, limited release, dropping on Netflix December 1st.
I'm in. Can't wait.
Talk about being in, Matt. We're doing a topic near and dear to your heart.
I wouldn't say that.
Other body parts, too.
Movies about porn.
All right.
This is Stump the Kubinski. Again, Jawheads.
I'm going to be an adult about this, right?
It is 5 questions. I wrote the questions, so of course I'm being adult about the questions. All right? We're not going to be talking about porn stars here. It's 5 questions. Matt has to answer 3 correct to not be stumped. Less than that, we have successfully
Ron Jeremy was in the
stumped
original
the
Ghostbusters.
Kubinski. I do want to say Matt has been drinking a few Tecates.
A couple, 2 or 3.
Having a good time here. That may weigh in if you're betting. You know, you're listening to this in your car with your wife. And
Vegas
you're
takes
making a
odds
bet.
on Stump the Kubinski.
I just want to put it all out there. Matt's had a few beers on this one, so let's see how he does on movies about porn. Are you ready, Matt?
I'm ready.
Question 1. Boogie Nights is known for its amazing cast. Name 5 actors or actresses from the film.
Alfred Molina.
1.
Heather Graham.
2.
Burt Reynolds.
3.
Mark Wahlberg.
4.
And So you fixate on one, you could just go to another. William H. Macy.
Yes, 5. You rattled through them pretty good. We also would have accepted John C. Reilly, Don Cheadle, Julianne Moore.
That's the one I couldn't think of.
There you go. So a lot of them in there. It's funny that you went Alfred Molina.
Yeah.
That's who I had listed last. I thought, well, he's only in one great scene, but it's
the best scene in
one
the
of the
whole
best
movie.
scenes in the, for sure. But I thought maybe he's probably not going to go there, but I'll list Alfred Molina. So well done. Matt's got question 1. Should know. Movies about porn. Here we go. Question 2. Jason Segel and Cameron Diaz made a comedy in 2014 in which they filmed themselves making whoopee, and it goes public. Name the film.
Zach and Miri make a porno.
That is incorrect. That is incorrect.
Sex tape.
Yes, we were looking for sex tape, but you don't get second chances.
Come on.
Here on Stump the Kubinski. No, you are 1 for 2.
I bet you the next answer is Zach and Miri make a porno.
You are 1 for 2. Question number 3 is
Kevin
over to you.
Smith.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Zach and Miri make a porno. True story. Starred Seth Rogen and Elizabeth Banks. Who directed the film?
Kevin Smith.
Unbelievable. I thought I was going to slip one by you on that one with the Kevin Smith. I wasn't sure you knew that, to be honest. All right. Matt has 2 of 3 correct.
I got 3 of 3, but go on.
No. 2 of 3 correct. Question 4 over to you. Joseph Gordon-Levitt starred in Don John, a movie that sees him addicted to porn. This all changes when he meets Barbara. Which actress starred in the film as Barbara? Who does he fall in love with in
Brie
Don John?
Larson.
Ooh, good guess, but incorrect. We were looking for Scarlett Johansson.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Scarlett Jo and Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Can't you see it? Wow. We are through 4 questions. Matt has 2
Scar
right.
and Joe.
Matt has 2 right, 2 wrong. So it comes down to the last question, just like last week. Question 5 is over to you. Matt, name the comedy that stars Emile Hirsch, Elizabeth Cuthbert, Timothy Olyphant, and Paul Dano. It's about a guy finding out his neighbor, Danielle, made a porno. Emile Hirsch, Alicia Cuthbert, Timothy Olyphant, and Paul Dano. It's about a guy who finds out his neighbor, Danielle, made a porno. Wow. Are we going to stump the Kubinski on
Not
movies
really,
about
because
porn?
I got sex tape
That is
right.
incorrect. No, you butchered that one, man.
I didn't butcher it.
Absolutely
I
did.
spoke without thinking. God, can you give me a hint?
No,
on this
I
one?
cannot.
There's no hints?
There's no hints.
Rescue Me Ryan?
No Rescue Me Ryan.
Zach and Miri make a porno 2.
No.
What was the neighbor's name?
Danielle.
Zach and Danielle make a porno.
No. Maybe you would have got the next question. We were looking for The Girl Next Door.
Oh. No, I've never even heard of this movie.
Oh. Comedy gold, Matt.
Really? Is it
I
good?
actually haven't seen it myself, but I know people have seen The Girl Next Door and they love this movie.
Okay.
So.
Never even heard of it.
No?
No.
Well, you know, when you're coming up about movies about porn, but you want to keep it wholesome, I mean, believe it or not, it's a limited list because I didn't want to ask Larry Flint question again.
There's a lot of good movies about porn. Yeah, Larry Flint. You could have picked.
But you know those too easy. So then I actually wrote a few down. And I thought, man, it's no fun if I'm writing it down and I just know you know the answer.
You could talk about like Ron Jeremy cameos and stuff like that. You know, he's been in a lot.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a Ron Jeremy super fan, but
yeah,
back in the day.
True story.
But now he's in trouble. He's no
I
good.
know,
He's a scumbag. So.
Yeah, but was he kind of always though? If
he
we're being
always
honest?
was.
Yeah,
he absolutely
probably.
was. No doubt about it. Brings us to the end of Great Jaw.
Indeed.
And always been fun. Could be the last in person
with Phil
for a very long time. Never say never.
Never say never.
No. So for a very long time. So thank you, Phil, for all that you do. And best of luck out in Seattle.
Oh, yeah. Thank you, guys. It'll be a blast. Jawheads at home, you guys have my words. My mother still lives here in Illinois, and I will not be visiting my mother on any day other than a Thursday. A Thursday has to be, we record on Thursdays, pulling back the curtain a little bit here. But yeah, you better believe if I am in town, I am 100% making certain Yes, that we will have Cinemajaw.
We'll hold you to that, Phil.
Yeah, I already offered Matt and Ryan my sofa for any West Coast film festivals as well.
Might take you up on that.
I agree.
I've never actually been in Seattle. I've flown through there, but never spent time. So
it's a pretty cool city. I think you would like it, Matt.
I think I would too.
We will get out there eventually, Matt K. Maybe we'll do a live Cinemajaw from Seattle.
From the Space Needle.
I love it.
Hell yeah.
Matt, we also got to thank the sponsors.
Yes, we do. Thanks to Overcast and the Chicago Podcast Co-op, who help us get great sponsors like them.
If you want to support Cinemajaw, the easiest way, by far, to support the show is by leaving us a review wherever you're listening to this podcast.
And hey, if you're not already a Patreon, please visit patreon.com/Cinemajaw. We got lots of cool perks and extras and fun ways to interact with us.
Absolutely. Until next week, I'm Ryan the Movie Guy.
I'm Matt K. And keep on jawing about the movies.